Guy Fungi here. I'm doing a scientific experiment, another one of my scientific experiments. So harvesting water is what they call it. I have two cisterns. This is 125 gallon and this one holds 200 gallons. This one fills up, and I have a garden hose, and it's open, the valve, and it feeds over there to that cistern. And the blue garden hose you see coming from that cistern comes over here. Now these are just some valves that I can turn on and off. In other words, I can feed that cistern, the 200 gallon, can turn it on, and basically it would just level off these two cisterns, and of course this one would backfeed as well. And what I got over here, this goes to another splitter. This is just to the garden hose. You need water here, and the filtration, this is where it starts. It's a little screen filter, and this hose goes to my pump. Comes in here. This is a pressure switch, but it doesn't really work, so it's just flowing through. It's supposed to work, but it doesn't. But anyway, there's the little pump, 12 volts, and that runs all the way around, and it goes to this clear hose. Then it goes into my UVC purification system. What I'm doing, I'm building an inline UV water purification system for a water cistern. Now, I've already did this part, so I'm kind of explaining it. Bought this bulb. It's a UVC. It's a UVC, not UVA or B or anything like that. Not a black light. It's UVC. It's a 254 nanometer wavelength, germicidal type of bulbs. This is a regular light bulb filament here, socket. And of course it's quartz glass, which UVC can pass through. And what I'm going to do is see if I can actually, I'm going to build an inline with PVC pipe. Now I use epoxy, and I had a cap here, and I just drilled a hole, and you can, I'll put the where I got this and what it looks like before I put it in, but this white stuff is epoxy, so I don't want any water getting into the actual part, the guts of this thing, the electrical aspect of it, and I don't want any shorts, so I put the same thing on the back side. Alright, so that's what we got on here. Now this whole thing was to do this. I got an in and an out, so this will go in this little T, which I have this little, I believe it's a 1 inch, that's where the inlet will come in, and I have the male end somewhere. Anyway, the male end will fit on this. Of course, this is a, let me take this out so I don't damage it or anything like that. And this is a little piece here. Now aligned inside with that aluminum, this was duct tape type of, they use for insulation and stuff like that, so I did some strips and stuck it in there. So this will fit on this piece. The light will go on this end. This will be the inlet. Water's coming in from a regular spigot hose of a cistern. And this, I just kind of gave it a variable length here, a couple of feet, a 1.5 feet, for the water to reside. And all it's going to do is come at, well, I got a coupler here. This goes on this end. And then here's the female end of the water spigot. So it's basically going to have that. And again, with the silver tape, also put it on the end of this, so It'll reflect that UVC as much as possible to purify the water, getting rid of any pathogens, microorganisms. UVC light has been used for a long time. Hospitals, where food processing is, water purification, air purification. It kills the DNA of these microorganisms that cannot reproduce or multiply, or whatever you want to call it. It kills the DNA that can't do that, so it'll kill lice, bed bugs, mites, all kinds of, you look it up, it's pretty good. But the only problem is you can't look at this light. I got a flash, welder's flash, by fooling with another UVC that I was experimenting with, a fluorescent one. Now, my whole experiment here is hopefully the water hitting this won't damage it, won't do anything, because I've tried putting plastic clear tubing, everything else, but UVC light will not pass through anything but quartz, and I think some plastic, I can't remember the name of it. I even tried that and it didn't work. So I'm gonna just try hitting it. You can buy systems, but they're very, very expensive, so I'm just doing my own homemade do it yourself. Again, the reflective tape, this will be, you know, in here. The sun, the atmosphere blocks UVC. UVA comes through. That's where you get your suntan, sunburns, NB, percentage, a certain percentage of B. And also just letting you know, UVA will pass through glass, and B will not, and C will not. So, alright, PVC glued on this little joint, and also with the lights fixed in there, so you can kind of see the how's it going on in there. Glued, just got to dry. That's the outlet. That's the inlet. That's where bellow wire made up for that. Alright, I went ahead and glued up the fitting with the nail, and again I made up this clear tubing here, so that way, to know if the UV is working, because I won't be able to see, I can look into this tube, because the UV light's right underneath there. After it comes out, UVC, killing the DNA and germicidal and all the microorganisms, it basically comes to this filter. This is a regular filter you buy, and actually it's for a camper, but it's filtering it. And then I have another splitter. The green hose goes to the holding tank, the camper. So I can put the cistern water that's been filtered, purified with the UVC without adding chlorine. I also have on this right here, there's a blue hose that goes up and back into the cistern just to circulate the water. 12 volts is coming from these batteries. I don't need these many batteries, but I just have some batteries that I pulled out, or for one reason or another, and I have solar on top of the shed that charges this. And in this box is where the charge controller is, and right now it's showing what the voltage is, amperage, because the sun is being blocked by trees right now. Shows it's fully charged, and all of this is basically a diode underneath all of these that goes to each terminal, which each battery is being fed. So one battery won't backfeed to the other batteries. It's a diode, so it's going only one way. 50 watt, that's 100 watt. And of course that goes down to the charge controller and the batteries. and the water just runs off the roof of this shed. I have a screen, as you can see, stopping the leaves and anything else that falls in there. And then I have another screen that it hits, and I took an air conditioner filter for a central unit and put that as well before it goes in the tank, on both tanks. This cistern was not black, it was clear, not clear, but it wasn't black. So I painted it black, and I cleaned out I've been having it for quite some time, and they had some scratches. And in fact, when I painted this, I thought I'd leave a section not painted so I can see the water level. You can kind of see it right there. When I went to clean this tank, I cleaned both tanks out, emptied out all the water, put it on its side, and anywhere there was a scratch, and where that segment, that line right there was, on the inside of the cistern, that was algae. Alright, I'm going to turn the system on. I have a switch here. Pump is pumping. And right now I have it for circulating. So the water is going to start circulating back into the cistern. I have put a clear PVC type pipe right here, so I can see that there's water in here, and of course you can hear it. Cisterns must be black, no daylight, no sunlight can enter. That's why I have this just a garbage bag, black garbage bag over the top. Alright, so I'm going to open up the other cistern, that way they'll equalize. And they pretty much are going to be full because we've had a lot of rain. And open this. That's about as much pressure I got. It ain't that bad. I mean, it's not that high off the ground. Back to the cistern. And I'll open up this one, which goes to the camper. The reason I use these clear hoses so I can see the water. Basically watch it come through, that I know the water's flowing through. And again, this is how you fill these holding tanks. And there you see it pumping out. And I gotta, there's a little hole there, okay. So this whole process of filtration and purification of the water, filtration's pretty simple, just add filters. But the whole thing about the UVC light right here is not to add chlorine, ammonia, or any other type of chemicals to treat the water. One of the reasons to put this clear clear PVC, you can see that purple or light right in there. And I know it's on because I can see it. You can really see the UV light coming through. UVC light that's purifying the water, killing the bacteria, pathogens and such. So that's why I put the clear pipe, so I know it's on. These boxes are built basically protected weather and all that, but again, this is just water, and there is some 12 volts wiring and such, but use the foam on the hose so bugs and the wasp and such can't get in there. On the top I use flashing that you use for roofing on homes, and really just to keep the water. This is more crucial because this is all wires. Charge controller basically is really what I want to protect. I sprayed the charge controller with a lacquer spray in case this water gets in there, so it won't short circuit anything. These are just regular analog meters. Again, very little sun right now, as you saw on top, so you're not getting much on the amperage at this point, but this shows you that batteries are charged. Alright, this is inside the camper, and this is the holding tank that most campers have when when you don't have shore water to hook up, so you're going to be using the water in your tank. But this is a good storage for the system. That's what I was filling up from the outside. I also thought again before I learned that UVC does not pass through plastics, I was going to put a UVC light up here and just let it sterilize that water, but it will not pass through plastics. Alright, now for the pH. Check it on the cistern. That's just in the water tank itself. And let's see where it winds up at. 7 is neutral. Below 7 is acidic. All the way down to 0, like battery acid, lemon juice, and so forth and so on. And above 7 is alkaline. So again, 7 is neutral. So dimension. All right, so we're around 6.4, somewhere in there. All right. This is total dissolved solids. So we're going to see how much stuff. The lower the number, the better. The higher the number, the worse. Okay, now we're going to check the pH of the water coming out of the like 6.65. Looking around 18 there. And really all this shows is what we got. Again, total dissolved solids. The lower the number, the better. That means the stuff that's in the water. So pure rainwater going into the cistern and whatever else is in that water, filtering out. I brought it down to 0.19 and it was at 0.31. pH 7 is neutral, is where you want it. So 6.35 is a little acidic, and brought it up to about 6.60, closer to 7. So it's better water. Alright, this is regular tap water, and we're going to see what our TDS is. See if I can get this thing where you can see it. Alright, so this is the water we drink right out the faucet in our home. So we're looking at 156. Okay, TDS 156. Now we're going to check the pH. Looks like we're at 678 pH on tap water. This is a UVC light. It's in the UVC spectrum. Utilized to kill the DNA of bacteria, pathogens, and instead of using chlorine. Now, I was going to develop, well actually I did, but then I found out that UVC, well actually UVB and C does not pass through glass nor plastics. Now I've created a device where the water was going to pass through a clear tube, and I have it where the UV light will be shining on this clear tube in a box. and I already built it, and then I started doing a little bit of research and find out that UVC and B do not pass through plastics. They say most plastics and glass. So these beads right here are they change colors. There's a gel in there that reacts to UV A, B, and C. Alright, UVC without any glass, those yellows really pop out. These are variations of lights I have. These two are UV lights, not C. And these are IR, infrared, way on the other end of the spectrum in the red. This is on the blue and the violet. And again, you can buy this, I think I bought this at Lowe's. And watch as we do the same thing. You see the color changes? And we're going to show you right now. UVC light. The yellows really pop up on this bead when the UVC light hits it. And there's no change in colors. Barely. I can barely see those two yellows right there. Barely wanting to change that one too, but that's the UVC lights. Again, to show you how much they're going to change once I get them out of this. Let's do portion right here. There you go. There's the UVC. The yellows really pop out, but see, it's barely getting through. See how much it's changed right there. The yellows do not light up. Yellows right around in this area. And you can see you got your purple and your blues. Now I'm going to use the UVC. And you're going to notice the yellow. See the yellows popping out? The UVA, these flashlights that I have here, LED UV light, they are the 365, 385, which they fall in the UVA spectrum, which is from 320 to 400 nanometers. UVA does pass through glass and plastic. Place the beads within the plastic, and UVC, which is 200 to 290 nanometers, which the sun blocks out. UVA light, this is where this falls in, 365, 380, 385, around that, will pass through glass and plastics. And we're gonna test that right now. And sure enough, they are changing colors through the plastic. And again, glass does the same thing. There they are, passing right through. Alright, I got a piece of glass here, and I put my beads underneath. And again, the UVC and UVB do not travel through glass. So let's demonstrate that right now. UVC. Again, you can see the light, but the actual, that spectrum, the wavelength is not getting there. I see no color changes whatsoever. Little tad on the yellow, but you can barely see it. Alright. Again, nothing. Now we're going to use the UVA light, which is around 385 nanometers, and that does travel or pass through light, glass. And there she is. passes through glass. UVA does pass through glass and plastics. UVB and C does not. Okay, I have here, if I turn the light on here, it might be too bright anyway. This is plexiglass. We're going to see how the UVC light penetrates that. Or it doesn't penetrate that. Alright. UVC, nothing. Barely see the yellows. Barely. Alright, turn that off. Alright, we got nothing. And see what we got here. There it is, passing right through that plexiglass. Of course, you don't see any yellows because this is the A light. Apparently yellow pigment is responding to the C. And again with the sun, UVC does not get past our atmosphere. UVB, percentage of it comes through, and UVA, pretty much all of it. Again, UVA passes through glass, plastics. B and C do not, but C does not enter our atmosphere, and thus have to create it artificially with the UVC light. Again with the spectrum, visible light, as you see in a rainbow or with a prism, red being on anything around 700 nanometers, you get into infrared. Then you get all the way up here in the visible light near 400, which is blue and violet, and goes into UVA, ultraviolet. UVA passes through the atmosphere, through glass, plastics. B gets through the atmosphere, does not pass through glass or plastics, and of course C doesn't pass through the atmosphere at all, and thus it does not pass through glass or plastics. Alright, so that concludes the water purification and filtering of rainwater to be able to drink and use when needed. I hope this has been helpful.